Brian, can you start us?
I did.
Oh, we're good. Oh, it says live. Okay. All right. Well, welcome, board members. Good to see everybody. And on my computer, it's telling me I don't have any idea what time it is here. Hold on a second. Well, we got a couple more minutes.
It's 5:02.
You got 5:02? All right.
I have 5:02 as well.
All right. Well, we'll go with the consensus. On July the 28th at 5:02, we're going to go ahead and commence this special meeting of the board. And we'll open this up with a roll call or welcome first, because we'll go over our process and procedure under this. As you know, we've done these virtually, and so we're going live via YouTube. We're using Zoom to conduct our meetings. And again, once again, on YouTube, you can find us. Prior to the COVID situation, we had a call to the public. And so what we have offered in place of that, a place where people can actually submit comments during our meetings. And so if you do have a comment for the board, you can go to comments at pageud.org no later than the Monday by 5 o'clock before each regular meeting. Submit your comment and we will put it in the appropriate section in our agenda. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with a roll call. Ms. Kidman.
Sandra Kidman here.
Thank you.
Dee McCary.
Unmute, Dee.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're out of here. Dee McCary.
Thank you, Dee.
Ed Franklin.
Desiree Fowler.
All right, we've got Lynn Hoffman, Executive Assistant to the Board, and also Superintendent Wallen joining us. And thank the special guests for being here. The first part of the agenda is an action item. It's the approval of the agenda. I'll need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second that motion.
We do have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, next on the agenda, we'll go ahead and move into this. It's a comments, and we did have a comment that was addressed actually for the Monday night forum, but also to the board. So I'll go ahead and read that comment, and it was from Christy Rivers, and she's just saying, I realize this is released today. I'm confident there will be some conversation addressing this and a plan developed. I'm wondering how this requirement is going to be addressed. I know it's a concern for many families who are either single parents or where both parties work and do not have another adult in the home to help monitor their children in a remote or virtual learning environment. And Christy, that is literally a statement of the day for all of us. And she did attach Doug Ducey's executive release having to do with the requirements for on-site learning and support services. And once that came out, we had talked about in the past, but it will be addressed during Superintendent Wallen's conversation and discussion. So he also addressed it on his town hall, which I heard was a great success last night. Getting rave reviews. I think it's matching America's Got Talent for viewership. And so thank you. But I heard the principals just killed it because you had all the principals on. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes,
That's correct.
All right, so Ms. Rivers, thank you for the comment, and like I said, we'll go ahead and it'll probably be addressed in the first section of item number B. So item B, district reopening plan for the 2020-2021 school year, and this is an action item. I need a motion in a second, please.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I make a motion that we approve the district reopening plan for school year 2020-21.
Thank you.
I'll fucking it.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. We've got a motion in the second. Superintendent Wallen, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. As you know, things change daily, if not hourly. And last week, our governor issued a new executive order that outline some requirements that we are to consider as we move forward. And there we go. So you should see on your screen an overview of the new executive order. I want to run through that and talk about what that looks like and how that impacts us. So the vision is to follow the reopening schools. Health education decisions are data driven, and I'll share more with you about that. Count and fully fund students in all types of instructional models throughout the 2021 school year. And most importantly, and the one that drives everything that we do, is to keep all kids safe and learning. So in the public health data side, the executive order provides a very important piece that, one, we are not required to return to in-person teacher led classrooms instruction on a specific date, which originally in the previous order had been August 17th.
Where does
The school districts and charters will make our own decisions based on, that's the important thing, public health benchmarks, local needs, and available resources. And we've been working with a group of medical providers here in town. And so what's going to happen is on August 7th, the Department of Health Services, working with county health officials, will provide us the health benchmarks on what that's going to look like, what that reopening would look like. And those health benchmarks then will guide the on-ground opening and what we're talking about. And we've been working with Mr. Joe Wright, who's on the program, and then Gwen Lassio, who those two may want to chime in just a minute about those benchmarks, because that's the important thing, that we establish those benchmarks. Joe, Gwen.
Would you like me to share what CWC is currently working on?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So thank you so much. I'm Gwen Laszlo, and I am here to represent the Community Wellness Collaboration. I wanted to let everyone know a quick overview. It's a committee that started a little over a year ago. We started it last spring. Encompass Health Services, Banner Page Hospital, and Canyonlands Healthcare came together to form a group in order to provide the best possible healthcare to Page and surrounding communities as a united front. And what we do is we have several different events throughout the year. We do outreach in the schools. We did a car seat and seat belts and safe driving outreach program early spring. And then last year we had an annual a health fair. We couldn't do it this year. And then we had a staff event for our 3 agencies. So we're really excited moving forward. And we're excited to be supporting the school district in these endeavors. So what we are doing is CWC is meeting tomorrow, and we will be creating videos. We won't be filming them tomorrow, but we'll be finalizing exactly what information we're putting into videos that will be shared with families, and will also be part of the new teacher training or all teacher training for next week. And so we're hoping to have videos that are in both English and Navajo to share with the families. And really, a really big endeavor right now is to help push the desire for families to be to have some ownership and some assistance with how to have ownership with making sure they are kind of being the front line for sending for screening their kids for healthiness, basically making sure the kids aren't going to school sick. So kind of making sure that the families know their role in this and how they can help support our endeavors.
Thank you. Joe?
I don't know if I could add anything more to that than what Gwen just now said, except for that this CWC group, again, with Banner and Compass and Canyonlands, is a pretty special group. But what we have also done is we have invited the folks from the community of Lachii that run the clinic out there to make sure that we have them participating in developing this stuff, this help, if you will, for you, Larry, and others. I think they're going to do a bang up job of putting that stuff out for y'all, and hopefully, as Gwen said, just educating, if you will, those folks that are going to struggle with this thing as to what safety precautions they can take and all of that. But I really don't have much to add. I think Gwen did a great job.
I'll also say, thanks for the reminder, Joe. Another entity that's helping us is the Coconino County Public Health Service District. So we'll have representatives from there too at our meeting tomorrow. So I think we have a really good team to help support these endeavors.
Thank you. And thank you, President Candelaria, for putting this team together and connecting us with it and making it work. And this is the second paragraph of what the governor's executive order in this presentation. And that's getting those local resources available and helping us make that decision so that when August 7th comes and those metrics come down, then we can go to that very technical group and say, these are the metrics. Where are we in our community? Where are we in the reopening process in terms of returning students to school? So August the 7th, we'll have those metrics and we'll need to pull this committee back together and work on this part as well. Then the governor went into full funding for distance learning. Just a few statements, but I can tell you it's much more complicated than this based on what we have to do to get ready. And so distance learning counts toward the requirement for our days and that kind of stuff. So on August 10th, when we start distance learning, we start the clock ticking on counting students in our program. Where that underline is that the funding Arizona online instruction, basically when we start out, we'll be receiving 85% of what our student ADM is about. And then we go to the enrollment stability grant program and we fund that 15%, begin to pull that up in potential funding based on the distance learning. And that's a technical aspect, but it's important to know that eventually we will get as much as 98% of our funding based on the students we have in school. Always remember that for Page Unified, the funding of students is who is in school in the membership. So this is the next piece that's going to be interesting. The governor changed his order, updated his order on what we call online support services. We are required by the governor's order to provide a safe place for children who need a place to go during the day. And we launched a task force Monday morning. They began putting this together. So the idea is that some students will need a safe place to go during the day where they can receive critical education, as in internet access, nutrition, health supports when their schools has not returned to in-person instruction again. We will be providing that space. We will not be providing any meals or anything like that. But what that looks like, though, is a parent who wants to take their child to this location can take them, go down to the middle school, pick up breakfast and lunch, and then go over and bring the child to this location. We're going to use Desert View Cafeteria as primary and Desert View Gym as overflow, and then high school for 6 through 12 as primary, and then the high school gym as overflow. And so this includes all these children are able to attend at their own choosing. This is not a required program, and we will provide some online support really about that. It will be online support so that they can access their internet and begin to work together. We will start this program on August 17th, and that's because that's the date that the waiver kicks in and begin that. So on August 17th, 5 days after school has started, we will have a space at those two locations for students whose parents want to bring them to go. There'll be an intake procedure. There'll be screenings. The cafeterias will be set up to provide social distancing. A mask will be required on all students. And then we'll have a variety of other details like check in, check out. That's all being drafted right now by two of our staff members. And then we'll be stationing staff there for supervision.
Hey, Larry, a question for you quickly. With this new guideline from the governor and everything else, providing a place for nutrition and everything, isn't that probably 70% of our kids that's in that category? I mean, that's what could conclude. But that'll be everybody. I would assume that's be on the reservations, which would be about 70% almost of our kids.
Right. Well, we'll be providing meals through the virtual learning. Remember, August 10th, we start virtual learning.
Mm-hmm.
On August 10th, we will start distributing meals through breakfast and lunch program. You can pick those up at middle school for your student. This is a different place. This is just for the online support. Since meals are already provided, that's not part of the online support. Now, like I said, if you want to bring that meal over with you to the online support, that could be where it is. Our issue is that we're not sure how many and how long people are going to take advantage of this, because we're going to start at 8 and end at 3, and so you could be there an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever works for that particular family, and put them in. But the meals are already distributed through our regular program. So again, this will start August 17th. This will be the online support services that's required in the governor's order. And of course, when you say, what does it look like? Well, we don't have Boys and Girls Club. We don't have these opportunities to go out and link up with these other organizations. So we are providing a space for students to go and participate in distance learning. And there'll be a cap based on the number of kids that can go in that space, of course, based on the social distancing. In-person teacher-led instruction is not part of this, because remember, virtual learning started August the 10th. So students are already able to sit down, log into their first hour class, their 8 o'clock class, as we talked about last night, and begin their assignments and begin to work through their schooling for the day. This is about providing a device and internet access for students to complete their distance learning assignments. That's what it is. So we're providing no other services at that time in this program at this point. And this will remain in effect until we return to brick and mortar, whenever that is. And that, again, will be determined by those August 7th metrics. We'll meet with the medical community, the CWC, and begin to look at those metrics and see where we are in relation to the possible on-the-ground opening. This is one of the additions to that piece. We are now required to notify parents of that program, what the mitigation is going to look like, the minimum requirements that they need to maintain to enroll in a school under a distance learning plan. We'll be submitting that to ADE for the attendance starting August 10th. We are responsible for contacting parents, and we'll be sending out flyers on that on-site support site. We'll be sending out flyers about that. One of the things is we are now required to adopt policies regarding face coverings. We already have that in our continuous learning plan, and we've also put in a specific 1-2-page document regarding face coverings. Through the CWC, one of the things I learned about is a, quote, mask break. You got to take a break from your mask occasionally. We had not included that in our protocols, but now we will be doing that. And so we'll be implementing policies that require face coverings until that they're determined to be no longer necessary by the Department of Health Services. Pay will continue, although we may be reassigning employees. We will be reassigning employees to different tasks throughout the course of their contracts. We will honor all the contracts that we have. Preschools, as we talked about last night, will be continuing. Children with disabilities could be reporting to the preschool, and we have put out a busing plan for picking up those students who need that kind of a service. And so basically what's now changed is that online school does not have to start by August 17th. Online school is based on the criteria that is set out April 7th. So we will be starting virtual learning August 10th. We'll have that information then, and then we'll look at when we are going to start the reopening, the process of brick and mortar. And it does not require state approval. It requires the governing board to set a date, and I'll make a recommendation on that in just a minute. And we'll determine our capacity for the on-site supports, and that's basically based on what space we have available and how we're setting up to protect students with social distancing. And these are the resources that are available. So that is the new piece of what's happening in relation to the opening of school. So that with our continuous learning plan, again, we are expecting specific guidelines on August 7th that we will be meeting with the CWC, with Gwen and Joe and the other healthcare providers involved, looking at our metrics and saying, okay, when is it going to be safe to open? And we'll probably be looking at that on a every other week or bi-weekly, every other week or monthly to look at that, because they just don't change so easily. We're been told to expect another surge as we get closer and closer to flu season. So we'll see where we are. But based on all of these pieces, we'll have that on-site space provided. Now, one of the things that we're concerned about with that on-site space is that what happens if we have, as one of my staff said, what happens if 65% of our students show up for the online support? Well, we're probably going to come back to the governing board and say, you need to have a meeting and maybe we need to reopen school, because parents are telling us a different story than what everyone else is telling us regarding the safety and that kind of stuff. And again, we would consult with that medical team, with the guidelines, with Gwen and Joe and the CWC to put together a recommendation that would make sense based on those numbers, and put that together so that it's in the, focused on the safety of students. So given that, based on the current health and safety recommendations and the August 7th Arizona Department of Health Services release of public health benchmarks for the safe return of in-person teacher-led classroom instruction, we're recommending the governing board reopens learning virtually in our remote learning scenario on August 10, and that the public health benchmarks will be reviewed weekly. But if we need to return to on-the-ground scenario, which we hope is soon, that you give us a 2-week notice so that we can do, re-gear and get ready for that, return to in-person teaching. And then we will, once those metrics are in line, based on the CWC and all the information we have, we'll come back and say, board, we're ready to go brick and mortar tomorrow, in 2 weeks. But right now we're recommending that you approve that statement, or consider that statement. Questions I can answer for you?
Anybody from the board? You must have done a great job there, Superintendent Wong.
I guess we've been talking about this for a while, and we continue to meet weekly, sometimes every day, every other day, depending on what's happening in relation to all this, so that we have the best environment built for the safety of our students.
Larry, I know we talked earlier, but could you share your information about your experience with the Wi-Fi out in Kaibito today?
We are, we're exploring how to expand or promote the access of the student Chromebooks, because we'll be distributing those Chromebooks August 3 through 5, I believe it is. I don't have that in front of me. And so I boarded a bus, because we have 10 buses that have hotspots on them. Boarded a bus and we trucked out to Kaibito today with my trusty cell phone and my trusty iPad, and Jason, our security coordinator, and we constantly were testing all the way out. The farther out we got, the less we were able to connect through the hotspot. The hotspot had the tunnel, but there was no data going, the pipe was there, but there was no data going through the pipe. So we met with when we got out to Kaibito, we met at the Kaibito chapter, and I found out they use HughesNet as their internet connectivity. And we were talking about accessibility ways. Maybe we could come out and put a access point on their HughesNet and they could let the community use that. Then we got to talking about, well, there's HughesNet I've had HughesNet before myself. HughesNet has billing issues and that kind of stuff. But we're still looking at how to open that accessibility. We have in the process of purchasing 350 what's called hotspots. that where we can assign that to a family, and it'll be a data. It's not it's not voice. It's just a data hotspot. As long as you have connection to a cell tower, a hotspot may or may not work for you. So we're starting to experiment and test that out. But we are also told by the chapter that Untitled Chapter is down in the wash, so to speak. And when they said those families all around us up there have cell phone access, and so they can get on the internet at that point. And so we're going to be working to teach everybody how to do that. We're preparing videos and in both English and Navajo to teach parents how to help their kids open up their Chromebook and their and access to their hotspots. So that way. Then I'll be going to Bitter Springs and Inscription House. They're scheduled over the next couple of weeks to visit those areas and work at that.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
I noticed that there was a lot of funds going to be available through the state for rural areas to upgrade internet services. Is there more information other than the amounts and stuff and how we could access that money? Or
Right.
What channels will that go through?
Well, right now we have DEMA, which is emergency management, and that's really for COVID-19 hand washes, masks, cleaning materials, overtime for cleaning, all that kind of stuff. So we're using that as one source. We also receive CARES money through the CARES Act, and that is $495,000, and that's also been buying internet access, more materials for the cleaning and all that kind of stuff. And then there is a $40 million grant program that will become available by Friday, we hope, for special needs, for high needs. I'm sorry, not special needs, high needs schools. And so we're going to apply for funds through that as well. And then we also we've been in touch with the Navajo Department of Education. And today we received a grant proposal from Navajo Transmission Energy Program. I'm probably not getting it right. But they're the ones that has taken the big lead in energy on the Navajo Nation. So we've received a grant application that we're going to fill out and send them. It's not going to be very complicated. We're going to try to put all the hotspots in there that they can fund and reimburse us for that. My understanding is there's another care package that the president may have signed today. I missed the news this afternoon, so I'm not sure. And that had over $100 billion that's going to come down for schools as well. And so we'll be looking at how to tap into that money. But every source we can find that protects the board's M&O budget is what we're using to do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, board members?
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to say thank you to the CWC committee for organizing this, and I appreciate the partnership with our Page Unified School District and revamping things as we're starting out this new school year. And then Larry, I just wanted to say thank you again. I appreciate the town hall meeting that took place last night. I really do appreciate each and every one of our principals' presentation. It was very informative, and it really brought things to perspective for myself as a parent and also as a board member. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm just going to say a couple things. What I appreciate about the recommendation, of course, you guys are having to really put feet on the ground quickly now. And I was talking to 4 of the feet that were running around today, trying to find space and really start designating those areas for the unexpected number of kids, whether they be 10 or whether they be 400. So they're looking for those spaces. But what I do appreciate, and I've heard it time and time again when we've met with that medical community, and we've met twice, once again, just prop the CWC, and gosh, I just learned what the CWC meant. It was community wellness collaboration. And so I do appreciate them all. And again, it incorporates Banner, Canyonlands. We have Encompass, of course, and Lachine that the CWC says, gosh, it's great that we saw you. So we're going to reach out to them. And so it's really great to have such expertise in the room when we're having these kind of conversations. And they have made such, they roll off the tongue easy for them, and it makes big differences in how we execute our plan. And so big props to them. But in terms of making the decision we have to make, a lot of districts are saying we're going to stay till October the 1st, or we're going to go till January the 4th, and then we'll come back in. But the folks that we've been talking to hear it time and again, follow the science, follow the science, follow the science. And Superintendent Wallen, you've been real faithful to that, saying we're going to wait for the 5% trigger. And right now, the Arizona trigger, of course, Arizona's been one of the top hotspots. The Navajo Nation, of course, been one of the top hotspots. And both of them at this point are showing about a 10% infection rate. And you made a great connection at Tuba City, if you wouldn't mind mentioning that. And CWC might consider just reaching out to them as well as a kind of a collaborative partner.
We, our nurse, Pat St. Germain, reached out. I'd asked her to reach out to Tuba City IHS because we have the page data, but I want to get data from the Navajo Nation. And she reached out to Dr. Ho, who is a medical pediatrician, pediatrician at Tuba City, and we want her to join and work with us on the CDC. She's already sent us a PowerPoint that we could revise and use in our training on the COVID-19 virus, but also is giving us numbers and stuff. So we want to get her involved in our association and work with us in putting that together, because she brings that data from the Tuba City area. And so that covers, Kaibito, Inscription House, and those places. So we have page data, and now we have a real good source for Navajo Nation data for our area. And remember, our area is a little bit different than what the state is experiencing. So that's where that local decision will come in. Thanks to the way the governor has repositioned the decision, it'll be our decision based on our numbers for basically Page Unified School District and communities.
Yeah, and I think we all heard the fact that when there is a review on a consistent basis, then it may be up to the board to meet on a short notice. But nevertheless, when we make a decision to come back brick and mortar, we have to give at least a 2-week window before that happens, so that the conversion can take place, I guess, if you will. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Board members, any other comments?
Can I just say one thing?
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
I talked to Superintendent Wallen this afternoon for quite a while, and the only thing I still want to bring up is that I was talking to him about our district emergency operation plans, and that I think we have one hanging in the boardroom actually.
Yes.
And one of the sections in there is pandemic. So now that we're, actually dealing with a pandemic, we're dealing with all of this, we need to make sure that our procedures are all in line, that one document doesn't say one thing and then we're doing something else and not reinventing the wheel. So I had a short discussion with him about that. And so I'd like to see that, I guess, as a future agenda item, as a quick update or review to make sure that we're not creating a whole nother set of documents when we already have documents and procedures in place, and then dealing with possibility of having to redo everything. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah, good point. All right, folks, if there's no other questions or comments, we have a motion on the floor, and I will call for vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like we're unanimous on that, and thank you very much. Item number C.
Mr. President,
yes, sir.
Joe and Gwen, if you want to stay on, that's fine.
Yeah.
I know you're very busy people, as the board goes through its vision of the business. So that just to protect your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Can I make just one more parting comment?
Absolutely.
I think that you guys getting the CWC involved in this, as you could see, we had infection control people from Banner. We had medical providers. We had a lot of people that were providing a lot of input, and I just know that wouldn't have happened without you, Larry, and you, Bob, giving a call and saying, hey, let's make this happen. And so hats off to you, because I think that you did a great service for the kids and their parents.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And again, we look forward to a relationship beyond the pandemic. How about that? Let's do that. All right. Somewhere over the rainbow, we'll do that. All right. Again, thank you guys for joining us. Okay, moving on to item C, student eligibility to participate in athletics and activities for non-PUSD students. That's an action item. We'll need a motion and a second for this one.
I make a motion that we approve the request as submitted regarding the athletic activities for the non-public school students.
We have a second?
I'll fucking it.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Superintendent Wallen, I believe probably I see Mr. Ernie Rivers as well. So
Yes, Mr. Rivers will speak to this item. Mr. Rivers.
Good evening, Board President and board members, and Mr. Wallen and Ms. Hoffman. It's my pleasure and opportunity to be in front of you to have this conversation in regards to addressing online charter students that are non-PUSD students and their participation in athletic activities. It's our recommendation that we allow these students to participate this year. It's done on a yearly basis. It's done during the summer. Either approval or denial. If it's not reviewed, then it's an automatic denial for the following year according to the AIA bylaws. This will only pertain to AIA athletics and activities. There's a list that's included within the document. The reasoning behind that is AIA is the one that has the bylaw, and it only would directly affect these athletics and activities. The recommendation that we put forth last year, our last time was in the conversations we had with the board was low. So we did a little bit of research on our new recommendations that the students be charged $500 for participation in those events.
And Mr. President, members of the board, I would remind the board that these are not Page Unified School District students. And our students generate ADM, which helps cost out some of those things that Mr. Rivers is talking about. This is for students that we don't collect any ADM for. They've chosen not to enroll in our school. They've chosen not to enroll in our virtual school, which is their right, their privilege. But we believe that there should be an equitable cost recovery for them to participate in our athletics. When they participate in our athletic program, remember the board is funding buses, drivers, hotels, all those kinds of things. And Mr. Rivers can kind of tell you what that financial breakdown looks like. But that's why the fee is being established as it is, because we have to recover that money.
Yeah, if you would, Mr. River, I'll be curious to hear how it came up with the 500.
So we feel it's an equitable amount if you take into consideration the total budget for the athletics and activities program, which is about $500,000. That takes into entail coaches' salaries, benefits, transportation, hotels, tournament fees, a wide variety of items. We have approximately about 500 individuals that participate in our athletic and activities. If you do some rudimentary math, it's about $1,000 per individual. We felt $500 would help to recoup the monies in which we would need to utilize. Does that help, Mr. Franklin, or would you like a little more detail?
No, that does. It gives me a better idea. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, Ms. Kidman.
Okay. The only thing I have an issue with is that the document didn't clearly specify whether it's per sport or not. And I would just like to add that that fee would be assessed per sport. So it's kind of like the same way we do it when students, non-PUSD students want to take a class with us, like orchestra or science or any other class, we charge per class. So I think, especially with you breaking down the numbers, it costs actually $1,000 per student. 500 is a stealing, is a real deal, I think. You and I talked earlier about, because I wanted to see, I had similar questions as Mr. Franklin. And so I would like to just specify per sport, if we can do that.
Is there any other questions?
Well, I was going to ask, I think I texted you a similar question. Is this a one-time fee? Does that allow them to participate in sports throughout the year, or activities such as band or drama or whatever it might be? So I just was wondering about that. So Ms. Kidman's question breaks it down even a little bit further. A lot of schools go to pay to play, and they have a certain fee that the kids play when they play a particular sport or when they participate in a particular activity. I understand the 500, but about a per activity fee.
And Mr. Rivers, I would also like to say the 500, and I think if, based off what you just mentioned, also maybe we could do something for additional, but could it be reduced though, to where if they do more than one, we give a reduced fee. So if they're going to do two or more, for example, we reduce it to 750 or something out there, because that could become quite expensive.
Yes.
But remember, these are non-students. These are not our students.
Correct.
Right.
These
Remember,
are people who are not
Yeah,
contributing.
I'm taking that into consideration.
remember our students are generating about $9,000 in ADM when you put everything together. So when that student doesn't enroll in PUSD, we're losing $9,000. And to be putting a $500 fee on there helps us recoup some of that cost.
Quite aware of that.
So Mr. Franklin, earlier today, Ms. Kidman and I had a pretty good conversation, and we actually broke it down to hours of participation, events, and so on and so forth. On average, most individual sports, and then you could include football in that as well, attend 10 regular season events. So if you break it down per event, it's $50 per trip per event. If you look at the other sports, they typically will average anywhere between 14, if you include tournaments, to 20. And so if you break it down, really, it comes down to about a $20 to $25 fee to $50 fee per event. If you want to break it down even further, the average time in which an athlete participates in competition as well as practices and travel is about 360 hours on average for the season. So if you break that down per hour even further, it only is about $1.25 an hour. And we're just trying to put a better perspective on it. I did discuss with Ms. Kidman earlier in regards to there are models out there that do allow a reduction for multiple family members. They do allow a reduction for multiple sports. I'm not advocating for that. I did not put whether it would be for the year or if it should be for individualized sport because in the AIA bylaw, it just says they're allowed to charge, and it's left up to the board to make that decision what that cost would be. It does not specifically state whether it should be per sport or whether it should be per season. And President Candelaria, to clarify, this would only be athletics and activities through AIA.
Yeah, okay,
Marching band and the color guard is not included in this because they do not have a bylaw currently that I'm aware of that would apply to this. Also for this year, AZMB, or AZMBA, Arizona Marching Band Association, has canceled their fall season, and their winter season is still yet to be reevaluated.
So Mr. Rivers, do you think if we did 500 for sporting events, would there be a possibility that you think we may lose kids from joining, or do you think that that's not going to face them?
That's a difficult question to ask. I'm not sure of the financial resources of the students that are going to choose to go online. If I knew of those individuals, I may be able to make a better decision as far as being able to comment on that, but I can't refer to it, to be honest. I don't know how many students it will affect.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
this is only for students who try out and make the tryouts, right?
This will be for students that make the team. That's correct.
Okay.
But they're non-PUSD students. These are
Yes.
not, yeah,
Yes, that's
yeah.
understood.
Other-
But they would have
yeah.
to go through the tryouts in order to be on the team. And if they are on the team, they would have to pay the fee.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
reason I keep repeating it because I know how the page rumor mill works, and people pick up only, sometimes fragments of what we discuss in a meeting. So that's why I want to keep repeating that this is non-students. These are people who choose to go to another school.
And I would reiterate that as well, Ms. Kidman. It is a choice. We currently have a choice for them to enroll in our Sage and Sand online. That would be the equivalent to, if not better than, some of the academies they're currently choosing to go to. Next year, the recommendations may be different based on new information, but based on the information that we currently have, we felt this is the best course of action in this particular situation.
Any other
And
comments?
I was just gonna say, in some ways it's kind of a moot point if we, it looks like we're gonna be canceling fall seasons all over the place. This would just basically even be for the second semester, because if there's no sports, then there's no sports.
Right. Any other comments? Okay, well, I'd like to I took a look at everything you did. We had a conversation, and really appreciate all the legwork that was done, for sure, and the contact with all the coaches and those kind of things, making sure you touch base with everybody that was involved. So thank you very much for doing all that legwork and bringing that to the board.
You're welcome, and thank you for the opportunity to speak before you.
Desiree, it looks like you got a question.
Yeah, okay, so this is just for grades 9 through 12th grade, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, making it clear.
AIA does not have regulation over
For
middle school sports. That would be the NEAA, which is the Northern Arizona Interscholastic Association. They look to the AIA for modeling, but currently they do not allow non-students to participate unless they're homeschooled, because that's a completely different case. But they do not allow online charter students to participate in their association.
Thank you for the clarification, Ernie. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. If there are no more questions, we've got a motion and a second. Yes, go ahead.
I just want to clarify on what we're voting on. Are we voting on per sport? 500 per sport, because it's not outlined.
And that's not what was recommended. It's just a $500 fee. Is that correct, Mr. Rivers?
Yes, it was recommended a $500 fee, but it was not specified. It was left up to the board to determine whether it was per sport or for the year.
So we need to determine that now. Mr. Wallen, what's your recommendation?
My recommendation is per sport. Again, because I look at the lost revenues related to that student going to another online school somewhere else. That money does not stay in the Page community. It does not benefit our school district. And I think that's a fair assessment to pay in relation to that, what it costs us to maintain those sports.
Okay, so then I would like to make an amendment to the original motion, because it was said, it was stated, it's recommended that the governing board approve the request as submitted. So I would like to make an amendment to say the governing board approved the request for $500 per student for non-students.
Okay.
I second that motion.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll have one more question before we go on. Historically, how many charter kids have we had?
That's a question
This is a brand new.
So in my tenure in the 5 years that I've been in this seat, we've not had any because the board's not entertained this motion.
Yeah.
And in my original year arriving and speaking to Superintendent Varner, I asked the question, are charter students allowed to participate? He said the common practice of the board had been not to allow them to participate.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion that has been amended to vote on a $500 per sport assessment and to allow charter students, high school 9 to 12, to participate at Page Unified High School upon making the team. We have that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it passes. Thank you very much.
Okay, can I just add one more thing, Mr. Candelaria?
Yes, absolutely.
I would like to have a future agenda item where we discuss basically the same thing for non-AIA activities, just to make sure that we cover those as well.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item number D is recommendation for fall athletics. It's recommended that the governing board cancel the 2020-2021 fall season AIA athletics but allow head coaches to virtually coach the students to keep them involved in programs for the 2020-2021 school year. That is our recommendation. I'll need a motion in a second.
I recommend that the governing board cancel the 2021 fall season of AI athletics, but allow head coaches to virtually coach the students to keep them involved in the programs for the 2020-2021 school year.
Thank you.
I second that motion.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Superintendent Wallen, Athletic Director Rivers.
Mr. Rivers?
President Candelaria, board members, Ms. Hoffman, Superintendent Wallen, greatly appreciate the opportunity to discuss this. This was not a decision that was made easily. This is a decision that a lot of thought and prayer quite literally went into. Conversations were had with my peers throughout the state. Conversations were had with the southern part of the state, the western part of the state. Many conversations were had, and sometimes not very easy conversations. I was able to reach out to all of my fall coaches and some of my other coaches as well to have conversations with them as well. There were mixed feelings, mixed emotions, all of them saddened and disappointed that this was the direction that we were going to eventually head to. I think it was inevitable. Ourselves and a sister school, Tuba City, so far are probably the only two schools north of I-40 to make the decision not to participate in fall sports so far. And so based on the information that we're aware of, when I submitted this, there were 12 schools that had canceled sports. 10 of those were on the Navajo Nation. One of them was El Chusay and another one in the Valley. Since then, there's been closures of a few other schools. There's a prominent football program that was exposed to COVID-19. They have shut down their program completely until September 1st. AIA plans to start August 17th. And so unfortunately, with much deliberation, for the safety and the health and the well-being of our students, our coaches, and our community, my recommendations are to cancel the fall sports season for the 2021 season.
Okay. Any comments or questions, folks?
Question.
Yeah.
How is this virtual coaching going to take place, just out of curiosity?
So that is a great question. It's a conversation I've had with my coaches. It'll look a little bit different for cross country versus golf versus football or soccer. But currently the coaches are doing that already. They're online with their students. They're holding Josh Adams, our golf coach. He's able to have the students set up a camera, and he's able to analyze the swing right there online. Our cross country coach, he's in virtual contact, whether it's text, email, FaceTime with our cross country team. They're providing workouts and the students are doing those workouts on their own. Our football coach, Bubba Billy, on a regular basis, he's in contact with our students. And so we'll put in requirements that our coaches will need to make by contacting individuals, by holding team meetings. They're also part of a club, and the club is a bigger thing within the school system that lets them operate year round. And so in talking with them, it would be to continue to provide workout plans for them, follow up with each individual on a weekly basis, and to hold a team meeting with those individuals on a weekly basis as well.
Okay, follow-up question. We just approved our non-Page USD students. Are they able to participate, and how is that going to look as well?
So yes, they will be able to participate, and it's going to be a unique circumstance. You know what? I'm going to withdraw that statement because I've not had time to think about it, Desiree. It's going to be a unique circumstance, to say the least. And so that's something that I'm going to have to think about, and I'll have to get back to you on, because technically, if they're not paid the fee, they're not technically part of the program. But we're not having tryouts, and so that makes things a little bit unique there as well. And so that's something I'm going to have to think about, that I don't want to make a statement that I'm going to have to retract later. So I need to put some thought and even ask my coaches and even talk to my administration to see if that's something that they could do. Currently, I don't know how many students that would even involve in regards to online charter students wanting to participate in a fall season. That's not going to happen. And so that may not be even a point that we need to address, but I appreciate the question. It's really made me think.
Can we also, Lynn, have that on a future agenda item, please? And then question, I know this is AIA, but more importantly, our middle school students, are they also doing the same as well too, is doing virtual coaching?
So in talking to Michael Barnes down there, who's the athletic director, our cross-country coach currently is, our football coaches are not, and I don't believe our volleyball coaches are either. Currently, it doesn't mean that that's not something that could take place. Typically, the season does not start till the second week of the regular school for our middle school students. They're usually about a week or 2 weeks behind. Well, for football, they're 3 weeks behind, but for the other sports, they're typically 1 week behind.
Okay. And if families, or I'm sorry, if students want to participate, and parents just have to call the school, correct, to get more information as far as sports?
They could do that, but a better solution in my mind is to email all the cohorts, which are all the students that are enrolled in school. They all have their own email, and then we can also do emails out to Register My Athlete, and that includes all the former athletes that have been a part of our program with the email information, contact information for the coaches to reach out to them.
Thank you so much, Arnie. I appreciate all your questions or answers. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions, board member comments?
I would like to
Go
I
ahead.
would like to share just a little more information and kind of AIA's plan right now. AIA currently has sent out a survey that will complete, Ms. Martin, our principal, will complete after this meeting based upon the determination of the board of whether or not to proceed to council. It asks simple questions of what sports will you participate in? Are you willing to travel outside the county? And some other clarifying questions to find out from their body how much participation they can anticipate this fall. And so by next week, the survey is due by Friday. So next week, we'll even have a better understanding of what will take place in regards to AIA and their decisions. Also after August 7th with the metrics that come out. Right now, there's not a lot of schools, if any, within the state that probably could return. So that could significantly affect the seasons. There are also other models in other states that have pushed back the start of the seasons till December 1st or January 1st. And so there's a lot to be determined within AIA, So there's a possibility I could come to you in 2 or 3 months when we return virtually and ask for your blessing to participate in fall sports, but just in a modified or revamped season. So I want to be pretty transparent that at this point, AIA is planning to move forward August 17th, but that is still, that's their plan. But based on new information, that plan may certainly change.
Any other comments? Good questions, good comments, folks. We do have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor of the recommendation, say aye. Aye. Okay. Moving on to item E, district fee schedule for the 2020-2021 school year. This is an action item. We'll need motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the district fee schedule for the 2021 school year.
Thank you.
I second that motion.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Superintendent Wallen.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is the fee schedule that has been in practice at least for last year. And remember, this is for our students, Page Unified students. And so it outlines the fees. It outlines that it's a one, and in some cases, one-time fee, like middle school, high school athletic fee is $25. That's a one-time fee required for participation. And that students who are on the free and reduced lunch program are eligible for a waiver of that program. I don't believe very many students take advantage of it, but it's there. And so we are this is just the usual normal fee structure. Then again, this is for our students.
Okay. Any comments? Questions? Okay, having none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Item F, job description for Sage and Sand online teacher. This is an action item. I'll need a motion in a second. Thank you very much.
I make a motion that we approve the job description for Sage and Sand online teacher.
Thank you.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. McCary. We do have a motion in a second. Superintendent Wallen.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is a job description for the Sage and Sand online students or teachers who will be moving over to work in that program. It's similar to our job description for on-the-ground teaching, but it also has those distinctions for online. So for example, it's supervising students within the online classroom and other assigned areas, developing lesson plans and delivering group and individual student instruction within established curriculum guidelines, working with the students on that. And some of this is based on the national online standards for teaching. And it's about building that. The critical piece that's embedded in here is the most important challenge of online education is building a connection and maintaining a connection with students, because that connection is built through a screen. And while students are used to those screens, this is a different way because it's highly interactive in relation to learning that's taking place. And so this puts together what the expectations are for the online experience.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions for Superintendent Wallen? Ms. Kidman?
I guess the paragraph with the work environment is a little more interesting now than it used to be.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Any other questions, comments? Having none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item G, first reading of revised policy IKF. This is a discussion item only. And Superintendent Wallen, you want to address this?
There's two pieces to this document. One is to establish the graduation requirements under board policy and Arizona State Board of Education regulations for the Sage and Sand Virtual Academy, and then we were recommending that the Academy have the same graduation requirements as Manson Mesa High School at 22 credits. The other piece is that I guess in reviewing the policy, we discovered that for several years there was a addition error.
Mathematical, yeah.
Addition error. So American history, including Arizona history, should be half a credit. World history and geography should be half a credit, which then totals the 22. So if you go back to the 26 for the regular school, should those be no?
I thought it was the health credits.
Lynn, I'm gonna ask Lynn to explain this because it goes back before my time. I'm only 27 days old.
And Larry, that's my fault. I think I marked the wrong one on your copy. It is actually for Page High School, the physical education and health education should be 0.5 credits each for a total of 1 credit. And the policy references that they are 1 credit each, which does not add up to the 26 credits.
Plus, they're only 1 semester classes, right?
Right. Yes, that's true.
Okay.
And so then the Sage and Sand would be 22 credits. Now, is that American history and world history? That's still 1 credit? Okay. I'm sorry. Forget that part. So we're correcting Page High School's requirements, the typo error in the top, and then establishing Sage and Sand Virtual Academy graduation requirements at 22 credits. This will be first reading.
Okay. Any other comments for Superintendent Wallen? First reading, we'll revisit this for adoption at our next meeting. Thank you. Item H, revised Page Unified School District school calendar for 2020-2021. There's an action item. Superintendent Wallen warned us about this. He's going to come in with calendar changes every week, looks like. We need a motion and a second.
What's this? Terry?
Oh, wait, did you skip something? Are we talking about the calendar or the handbook right now?
Right now, we're on item H, calendar. Oh, I'm sorry. H, I went to I when I said H. So it's revised PUSD school calendar 2020.
Okay.
That's H.
Just
yeah,
I think you said H and then you said handbook. So, okay.
Oh, I said
all right.
handbook?
Just want to clarify where we're at.
No, we're calendar 2020, 2021.
Okay.
Thank you. Motion and second.
I make a motion that we approve the revised calendar for the 2020-2021 school year.
I think Dee was seconding. Is that correct, Mrs. McCary? Mrs. McCary, you were seconding. I don't think we heard you. Go ahead. All right. Okay, Ms. McCary did second the motion. So is Superintendent Wallen.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is another revision of the calendar, and there may be several more. There is a survey going on statewide right now with allegedly a recommendation will be made to the Arizona legislature about the 180 days. That may or may not happen. So at any rate, we want to bring our calendar in line with current practice, and I would ask the board to recognize Dr. Maurer for that.
Dr. Mel.
Governing Board President, members of the Governing Board, what you have in front of you is an adjustment to the end date of our calendar. We added the 4 days to the end. This will bring us back up to 180 days. The reason for this is we are required by statute to have 180 days in our calendar, and until we get an opinion from the state and the legislature or some relief through executive order, we're looking at maintaining 180 days. So with that, we're asking for this revision, which would recapture the 180 days for us.
question for you, Terry. I know on our copy it doesn't have the list of items to color coordinate with what we see on our calendar. I just have a question for you. What for May 15th? What does that date specifically highlight?
So you're referring to, Mrs. Fowler, thank you for that question. You're referring to the back of the calendar that outlines all of the moving parts that are part of our staff's obligations. In this instance, everything is being maintained as our previous calendar, with the exception of the virtual events as we start up school. We've moved those to virtual. In this instance, that's the graduation date. So it may be the case as we move forward that the graduation date has to be adjusted. But as of today, the only major change is moving 4 more days to the end of the calendar to give us the 180.
So school would be out on May 27th. It will be the last day of school.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay, I had a short conversation with Lynn today about this, and I would, since this is going to be a reoccurring event that we changed the calendar. It looks like right now on a weekly basis. Hopefully that will, be reduced. But I would ask that we include all our old revision calendars, that we kind of keep track of them. And as we revise our calendars, that all the calendars are there so we have an easier way to compare. If we could do that, please.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions for Dr. Maurer? All right, we'll try to stay up on a week-to-week basis. Any other comments, questions? We're good? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right.
Oh, one more question. Sorry.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, sorry. How are we gonna communicate this to our parents? Because I don't know how many people have gotten the other calendar, but maybe we can just email it out or with Power Schools or something, and then have a disclaimer saying that this is our current calendar. Be flexible.
We'll be getting one next week as well, so just let them know.
Okay. All right.
We might want to do it at maybe space it out a little bit, because these first few weeks is going to be something. So
yeah,
I think it's important to remember too that nothing in between the beginning date and the end date have been modified, because we are expecting that it will change again, and to go through and move all of that to adjust it around to all of this would take a lot of work when it may not stay that way. And I know other options have been looked at too, as far as making up those days. It's just right now we had to do this for uploading purposes to the state to show that we were doing the 180 days on our calendar. So it was really in hopes that nobody gets really too excited about the stuff in between right now. Until the district gets further direction.
So what you're saying is there's a good chance that maybe the governor will say this year we're only going to have 175 days, and then we can slash those off again.
As I described, there is actually a study going on that's supposed to be presented to the legislature. Of course, remember the legislature is refusing to go into session because of the COVID-19, but there is a study with recommendations on that 180-day requirement.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for that, Ms. Hoffman. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you. It's approved. Item J, additional registered nurse position to provide additional assistance with COVID for 2020-2021 school year. This is an action item. Need a motion and a second, please.
Okay. Before we do that, I think we just skipped item I, the employee handbook.
Did I miss something again? Oh yeah, I just don't want to talk about that handbook.
That's fine. If you don't want to talk about it, we'll just keep going.
I don't want to talk about no handbook. Thank you, Ms. Kidman. Item I, action item PUSD employee handbook for the 2020-2021 school year. Action item, we'll need a motion and a second. See, I told you nobody wanted to talk about this.
Okay, I guess we don't want to talk about it. Okay.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the employee
Thank you,
handbook
Mr.
for
Franklin.
2021.
Thank
I
you.
second that motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Fowler. We have a motion and a second. Dr. Maurer, to you.
Governing Board President, members of the Governing Board, I will keep this short. We went in and changed the dates from 1920 to 2021 to reflect the school year. And then I also want to let you know, Mr. Wallen is on job day 28.
Look at that. You're a lot older than you think.
And we also reflected changes in there around our new superintendent. I can't say enough how much work he's put in and how much work we're doing. I want to thank him for that. So those are the two major changes. As you've seen with policy revision in the past, any policies that are revised will come through you and then be reflected in the handbook. So I know we have some things that are going on that are procedural directives that are coming from the superintendent. Those will be communicated to staff over and over and over again. So in this instance, this is really just a reflection of governing board policy as it currently stands. And then we will collect necessary signatures to comply with rules and regulations. But the major changes are simply the date changes and then the reflection of Mr. Wallen as our new superintendent.
Okay.
Okay, comment here, if I may.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe the reason you subconsciously didn't want to talk about this is because we did not receive a copy of this handbook in our board documents.
That's correct.
Yes, ma'am. That is, it wasn't subconscious that I didn't want to talk about it. I was reflecting on Mr. Candelaria's.
I was referring to Bob, not to you.
Yeah, I'm the one that don't want to talk about this handbook.
And
Okay.
that was an oversight on my part. We had pressed out multiple draft copies. We were collecting feedback. And then when I presented the action item to Lynn, we were still collecting the last pieces of this. And in this instance, I failed to communicate that last piece to her for this, which is the actual document.
Because I have a really hard time approving something where I can't see the changes.
I absolutely agree with you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Well, a good
We can,
for this would be to table if we want to table it.
Okay, I make a motion that we table this item.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. And I'll just make one comment at this point. I just did not want Superintendent Wallen realizing that we had actually hired him, and when you looked at his equivalent salary, it was $10 an hour. And with his work, he's getting about $1 an hour. So I thought we were getting quite a deal. Didn't want him to have any leverage in his 28th day. So. All right, any other comments? We do have a motion, amended motion just to table the motion, and we'll bring it back at a later time. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much. Very good. Thank you, Ms. Skidman and Dr. Maurer. Really do like it when you talk about handbooks. I get all excited. Item J, additional registered nurse position to provide additional assistance with COVID for the 2020-2021 school year. This is an action item. I'll accept the motion in a second, please.
I make a motion that we approve the request for an additional. Oh, actually, I won't make that motion because didn't we? Was there a revision on this document?
Yes.
So I make a motion that we approve the. What is that?
Job description for medical COVID-19 staff person.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. What Mr. Wallen said.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion in a second. Superintendent Wallen.
Mr. President, members of the board, we're requesting the board to authorize one position. Probably we could come up with a better title than that, but we wanted to be sure because we'll be seeking a reimbursement on the COVID-19 opportunities that this person is brought on board to mitigate the risk of the COVID-19 resurgence, protect students and staff, and guide the reopening of schools with enhanced safety measures. It's assist in providing health, nursing, and related program services to all students, serves as resource person to program staff and parents, and provides liaison activities with other community agencies for the purposes of providing a healthy and nurturing environment. I apologize for the lateness of this request. I had pictured our current nurses able to work with COVID-19, but as I met with her and began to realize the extent of her work with the special education, the medically fragile students we have, and in our discussions, I believe that we're going to need a person to really push this forward. And so we've made some changes. You go down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth bullet, we took out overseas plan being the COVID-19 plan in the absence of a physician. We didn't need that. Then we took out the preparing and maintaining medical charts because that's not what this is about. And then we made assist in medical needs, assist the SPED RN. That's not necessarily, but it's to perform those services that will help us develop or implement. We already developed it, implement a district-wide mitigation plan and be out there on the front line making sure this happens. You know, for example, I rode in a bus to Kaibato this morning, and the first thing I noticed when I looked is we don't have any COVID-19 mask requirements put plastered on that bus. So getting the signage, getting the screenings in place, getting all the protocols in place that are in our continuous learning plan is a tremendous, tremendous job. In my discussions with and considerations with Nurse Saint Germain, we decided that it's not necessarily, and this needs to be an RN because they're not going to be doing medical things. They're not going to be giving shots or, taking vital signs or something like that. So we put in a hierarchy of possible applicants. It could be an RN. That would be awesome. But our chances of finding an RN, Ed probably can speak to that, is probably slim to none. Possibly an LPN. Then we said, well, if we can't find that, in order to get this moving, because we start school August the 10th, it could be an LPN, it could be an EMT, or it could be a CNA. The critical piece is we want someone who can have strong communication skills, that can be out there standing and say, here's the hand sanitizer station. When we walk in, here's the signage, here's everything we need to do to make sure that there's somebody there cracking the whip on protecting our students and staff. And so we believe that that's going to require a person dedicated to just this COVID-19 issue. I should have brought this much earlier as we saw the scope of that work increase, but so I bring it to you now.
Yeah, I know that you were, and again, I appreciate the distinction. And when we look at this job description, when you start attracting people to apply, the dollar amounts that you put out in terms of a range are really going to probably start slotting, whether it's an EMT, CNA, LPM, I would suspect. So in your experience, it'd be really nice to have another RN, but
right, it would be.
Research the dollar amount that would be attached with this, and secondly, the consideration for where that money will be coming from.
It would go on our professional salary schedule. I'd have to have Dr. Meyer look at that schedule and see where we are. In terms of funding, it would obviously come from COVID-19 funds. That's why we put COVID-19 all over the place. Right. As we get more allocations, temporarily until we receive those funds, it would be coming out of Medicaid reimbursement funds.
Okay. Questions, board?
Bob, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Dee.
In one of the line listed here, it says established line of authority and responsibility for health service staff. How many are we talking about when we talk about staff? Right now, I know we have some CDAs that are in the buildings.
Right. We have one RN and 3 CNAs and one vacancy.
Thank you.
Sandra, did you have something?
Yeah, do you guys have a cleaned up document or is it still the old job description that?
You know, I think Superintendent Wallen said.
Oh,
this is
you're
the
at
last-
home.
Yeah, I'm at home.
Sandra, I did send you a copy of the revised document by email.
Okay. When did that
so
come out? I probably just didn't see it yet.
Probably within 30 minutes before the board meeting started.
Oh,
I
okay.
scanned it in
Okay.
and emailed it to you.
Okay, so I didn't see that. Okay, but all right. I will pull that up.
The other board members here do have a copy in front of them so they
Okay.
can see the changes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions, folks? All right, concerns? We okay? We have an action item that has been motioned and seconded. I'll call for the approval for the job description. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, good. Item K, Ms. Kidman, you're following this really well. Am I on item K? Thank you. I think it's the hunger that's in my. Item K, I'm going to make it really short because we've already talked quite a bit about this, and we really, again, appreciate Joe Wright coming in to the meeting early on, and also Gwen Laszlo. I'll just say this about the group, and I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it. It's a really a great opportunity for us so that we can actually team with this group. And I think that should give the community a real good sense that we are really after the science. And when you have the director of infectious disease for Banda there, when you have the social psycho evaluator for Encompass, who deals with addictions and various other things like that, the whole broad spectrum of medical is being covered in these conversations and discussion. And I am really excited about the contacts we had from Lachi in Pat, and then also the new potential contact that we had out of to the city, Dr. Liu, or did Dr. Yu? Okay, and so we're excited to make those kind of contacts, but all in an attempt to bring us the best information that we can get when we make our decisions and those kind of things, and keep us on track. And like I said, it's already made adjustments to the procedures and the processes that were being considered and that were put forward by our staff. So again, just big shout out to them. We'll continue to get together with them. I know they're meeting tomorrow as a result of our meeting that we had earlier in the week, so that they can produce a video that'll go out to our parents, and just to try to get them engaged in this whole process, because all of us know in this virtual environment, parents are going to be really critical like never before. And you know, that's been one of our goals, and maybe this is a positive that'll come out of COVID. Parents will be more involved, and we'll try to help them in terms of engaging their kids in a much better way. And those that really need the education, they'll ask for it, and that we got to be ready to step up when it comes to that. So again, I just really appreciate the CWC. And by the way, we do have a representative on there. I think is Shannon Garrison the only one from the district that's on that? Do you know, Larry?
Historically, she's the one that
That represents.
I know of. I'm not sure about others
Right.
at this point.
Okay.
I did ask Nurse St. Germain to join us
Okay,
and be a part of that team.
Great. All right. Perfect. So again, we've had a presence on the CWC, and we'll continue that. And it's just gotten strengthened. So again, a lot of thanks to them. I have nothing else for the last item. And so that brings us to Ms. Kidman, if I'm following this correctly, it's item 3, is that right? And then what used to be the favorite item on my agenda.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting at 6:31 p.m.
Okay, and that was seconded by Dee McCary. Dee, you're going to have to unmute.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. McCary. So we do have the motion and the second, and I reluctantly call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Hey, great job, board. Appreciate it very much. And Superintendent Wallen and all the other participants, Dr. Maurer, even though we didn't want to hear from you, thank you so much. So, and Mrs. Hoffman, thank you for keeping it square. All right, that'll be it.